Yes, yes.
Very nice.
How you doing today?
Tired.
Now, where you going from?
Is it the middle center?
Okay.
I went here and Dr. Rowan and I
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see me.
Rowan, you're wrong
Hi.
side.
Good.
Where are you working?
In Chapel Hill. Accounts.
Okay. So the school council.
Been doing that for the last 6 years.
You guys want to wear students?
Mm-hmm.
Who's with you?
Rachel Jennings.
Jennings.
Yes. Picture. I was like, Central, yes, I'll take it.
So it's 3 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Hello, how are you?
How you doing?
No, you didn't.
First day.
Yep.
Yeah.
I turned around. I thought the number was 1071. But maybe I read it.
No, I sent it and I changed one to the 0. I did say we changed it.
Yeah, that's
to
good.
0 last. Yeah. That's okay. Okay. You can sit. I wonder who this is. Okay. Yeah. This is it. Okay, I think it's 3 o'clock and we really want to honor a person's time. We have we had another session just before we came to this one. We were doing our career counseling online residencies. For the students who are doing their career counseling residency, we were doing our workshop with them. So we still have some professors who are going to come down, and Dr. Whiting, who's supposed to co-lead this with me. But I think we're just going to start because I know a lot of you, definitely a timeline, so we want to honor everybody's commitment for being here so far. So until they come down, we're just going to get introductions from you first. Like we say, thank you so much for coming to our site supervision orientation for fall 2016. And I think we were talking earlier about how we're going to definitely look at maybe using WebEx and some other media so a lot more persons can actually be in the room and actually ask a lot more questions. But all of this information is on our website as well underneath nccu.counseling. I think I have it so you can see it. Okay, this is our website, and if you go on the supervisors, and all of the information that you need is underneath there. Dr. Royal, who is our technology expert, he does all of this nice work for us. And so you can also look through all the other sites that we have. Okay, so let's start with introduction. 3 o'clock. So we're going to start, like I said, persons will be coming in. We're going to start with you, because you came in first. Just your name on the site you're at and the student that you have, Yes.
My name is Christy Dunston. I'm at UNC Chapel Hill University Career Services, and my student is Verna Everhart.
I'm Sasha Rosen from First Step Services, and my student is Tiffany.
I am Brittany Egan. I am at Phillips Middle School in Chapel Hill, and my student is Rachel Dunn.
And I'm Kathy Dial from McDougal Elementary in Chapel Hill, and my student is Kathleen Sutherland.
Okay. Thank you so much. We wanted to start on the person's time at 3 o'clock, so we're going to have our professors just introduce themselves to you. I started off already.
That's fine. I'm Dr. Peggy Whiting. I'm the coordinator of counselor education. I'll be talking to you in a minute.
I'm Jenny Barrow. I'm the school counseling coordinator, and
I'm Chad Morrill. I'm supervising a practicum class this semester. So, got one of Christy's student.
And I'm Lavette James. I'm the person you were getting all the emails from, bombarding emails from. And Dr. Horn just stepped up looking at these guys, because like I said, they're upstairs. He's one of our other faculty members. We also have Dr. Moody, who's our chair of the Allied Health Profession. He's over the Counseling Education Department and Communications Disorders, and also the Education Leadership Administration Department as well. So he's the person underneath that. And then we have Dr. Whiting, who's our coordinator for the counseling program. And also we have Dr. Newsom, who's also our practicum, pre-practicum, and practicum professor as well. And Dr. Horn, you can introduce yourself for us.
I'm Robert Horn. Okay, I'm Robert Horn. I primarily teach the substance abuse courses and as well as the mental health courses. I'm an LPC. I'm an NCC, LPC, LCAS, CSI, ACS.
Alphabet soup.
Yeah. So, and the big thing is I'm actually an alumni of the program from years past, and it's been a great experience coming back as a professor to teach. I've been here the past 2 years, and we have a Criteria C substance abuse program. And that's where I think we're one of 8 universities in the state. So that's the gold standard in substance abuse training here in North Carolina. So.
Hi, I'm Susan Wasick, and I'm the Career Counseling Coordinator. And welcome, and thank you for coming today. And thank you for supporting our students.
I'm a brother.
Mary's course.
So before we go right into the presentation, we just want to say hi to those persons out there, those persons who may be viewing from internet land. They have a side? Yes, okay. So we said thank you so much. I hope that you will continue to watch. So we can have all those information. If you do have any questions, you can email me and I'll get the questions answered to you back to the persons who I can get the information from. I'm talking with the persons who are in the internet land. So we're just going to start off with Dr. Whiting. Yes.
We're running on a tight schedule today, just so you know. We had our online career counseling new cohort here for a residency, and that's where we all were upstairs, so we apologize for being a couple of minutes late here. What we want to do today is to give you as a site supervisor basic information about us and about the Practicum Internship situation. So we are going, do they have a copy of the PowerPoint? Yes, yes. You have a copy of the PowerPoint here, so a lot of the information you won't need really to write down because it'll be there for you, so we'll go right through it. Can you change the slides so we're on top of that? That'd be great. Okay, so some of you are field site folks for practicum, and some of you are field site folks for internship. And we want to make sure that you understand the difference in those two experiences. So here is sort of the line by line difference in those two experiences. Practicum is our first field site experience for our students. It's a 100 clock hour experience. And students are expected to engage in individual and group facilitation. Usually they are new to the field. Some have worked out in human service organizations before or in schools in a variety of capacities, but they're new to this counseling role. So practicum is the time for them to get a sense of what your setting is about and what a career counselor does, what a school counselor does, what a mental health counselor does. So they're going to observe, but we also want them to participate. We don't want this to be a distant observation experience. They do have to hit the ground and be working with some clients, only for 100 hours. That translates into 8 to 10 hours a week if you divide it up with our semester. So you're only going to see your person a very small amount of time in comparison to the internship. The internship is a 600 total hour, clock hour experience. And the internship can be done in one semester, which would end up being 40 hours a week. You'll be seeing your person every day as if they were employed by your site. Okay, they're there all the time. Or they can divide the internship up into 2 semesters, which would be about 20 hours a week. So you probably know, if you're an internship person, you probably know whether your person is doing what we call a 300 or a 600 hour internship, because they'll be with you less if they're doing the 300. So again, this is a hit the ground running kind of experience. The internship is the final task that our folks do before they graduate. Okay, it's the final task. So you can rest assured by the time people get out there and practicum an internship, they've taken all the prerequisite courses, and they're pretty prepared by the time they come to you. But they may have limited direct experience with clients. Now, we have in the practicum, the next slide, we have in the practicum and internship what we call direct and indirect hours. And we want to make sure our supervisors understand the difference in those two things. Direct hours are about, we call it breathing the same air as the client. So what that means is that this is direct service to a client. Direct service. And that's going to vary according to how that's specifically defined. It's going to vary according to your site. But we have direct hours, meaning that we're providing service delivery to the client base that you serve. Whereas indirect hours are all the other associated tasks that people do, that counselors do at your site. We require, because we're an accredited program, that 40% of the total number of hours for practicum or internship must be in direct service to clients. So that is individual counseling, group counseling, family counseling, marriage counseling, working with a student in a school, those kinds of direct service hours. The 40% translates into 40 of the 100 hours in practicum and 240 of the total 600 hours for internship. So you can see here that the direct hours are a component of what we're asking people to do, but the other hours are equally as important, and they can be up to 60% or 60 hours for practicum or 60 for internship, and this would include every other related thing, okay, which could be paperwork. Could be learning to chart, learning to keep records, learning to communicate with other people that are associated with the client's life, okay? It could be continuing education. It could be professional development. So there might be a school counseling conference that you want your intern to attend so that they get a sense of that. It could be a service work day in the community that your agency is participating in. It could be going to the North Carolina School Counseling Association or the North Carolina Career Development Association or the North Carolina Counseling Association, all of which will have conferences in our region this year. So all of that, so there is a place for direct and indirect hours, and you will find that in the paperwork that our students have to do, they have to differentiate and substantiate through your signature what is direct and what is indirect. But this will show you that it can't be just a distant observation kind of experience. We do want our people to be in direct service to clients. Okay, and then we have what's called a dual supervision model. And what that means is that We have faculty supervisors like all of us, and we have site supervisors like all of you. And we're working together. So part of what's going to happen is that we have different roles and responsibilities in this collaboration that we're going to do with you. And this tells you a little bit about the distinctions between what a university supervisor does and what a site supervisor. The university supervisor is the person who teaches the course that your practicum or internship student is taking. So there is a campus course or an online course, that a WebEx kind of session where they come together with one of us on a regular weekly basis. So you can rest assured that we have a pulse on what they're doing. We're not handing them over to you and then walking away and we have no idea what's going on with the student. It's not that at all, quite the reverse. It's our responsibility to facilitate then what's called group supervision. So all the practicum students may come to me, for example, they're not this semester, but they might. And then that would mean that I would have the responsibility to bring them together once a week and primarily to listen to these recordings that they're required to do. Okay? Every student, practicum or intern, has got to complete 6 recordings. Okay? And we take the responsibility of critiquing those recordings. Those recordings are our way of knowing what they're doing and helping them to increase the level of skill that they might have with working with clients or groups. We also have the only responsibility, you do not share this responsibility, and I want you to understand that. We take full responsibility for assigning the grade to the student. These are graded experiences, ABC kinds of experiences. We don't do that certainly without your input, and we'll see that we're going to ask you to fill out some evaluations, and we'll be in contact with you about how our students doing, and we want you to be very honest with us about that. But you do not have any of the responsibility for assigning the grades. And I've heard from site supervisors before that they don't want that responsibility. And that's clearly the university supervisor's responsibility. You, on the other hand, can listen to their recordings if you want to. Decide that for yourself. We do want you, if you are particularly supervising an intern, we want you to meet with them on a regular basis, 1 hour per week. Now, for some of you in certain kinds of settings, that might be surely impossible to come up, I'm looking at you, it would be impossible for you to come up with a whole hour where you could sit down, stop everything that's going on and sit down. School environments are an example of that. But what you want to do is you want to be mindful of being available at certain regular times for the student. Because what we're telling our students is, have you checked with your site supervisor about that? Write that on a list and take it to him or her and discuss that in your designated time so that our students are not always bothering you every time they don't know something that they need to know, okay? We will ask you to fill out evaluation forms that have to do with skills and ethics. Do you see this person as practicing in an ethical way, in a respectful way? Those kinds of dispositions and observable behaviors that we would want a professional counselor to have in this setting. We also ask that you provide a place for the student to work. That sometimes is hard to find. I understand that. Everybody's not going to have a private office for the whole time that they're there, but we do want them to have an appropriate work station of some kind, even if they're sharing it, so that they can work with confidentiality and with quiet so that they can do what they're doing, because they are going to need to be making these recordings. We also ask that you orient them, and you've already done this because they've been out there several weeks, so you've already done this, that you orient them to the day in, day out activities and schedule that's going on. You've probably been negotiating that with your people already, and most everybody, I think at this point, we're far enough along to where you've got that established. So those are the differences really between what we're asking you to do and what we're doing, and collaboration is what brings those two things together. We have certain kinds of requirements, and we want you to be knowledgeable about what those are. We are a nationally accredited counselor education program in all three of our tracks. And what that means is that we have certain standards that we have to demonstrate that our students are capable of achieving. And they're high, and they're numerous. What you will find is that if you look at an individual syllabus that's given to you by the university supervisor for that practicum or internship student, you'll see all kinds of activities that you are holding them accountable for doing. Have all of you received the syllabus on your person? If you have not, let your faculty supervisor know that, and you can just simply say, could you shoot me a syllabus, or ask your student, can I see the syllabus for your course, so that you will see kind of the scope of what the student is held responsible for doing while they're with you. You will find that it doesn't matter who is teaching the practicum or the internship class. We have uniformity across the program, so that Dr. Dames is not going to have different assignments for me if we're both teaching a practicum student. The assignments are uniform, and you can count on that. So there'll be a little bit of variance from one person to another because we have different teaching styles, but the basic requirements are the same across all people. I've already talked some about the recordings. I do want to state that these recordings are made only when written permission is given by the client. If the client's a minor, that permission has to be given by the parent. And those are held in the strictest of confidences. We teach our students about confidentiality via the hallmark of our profession from day one when they come in. And so they are well aware of that. We have a standard consent form that they may use, or they may use one from your site if you prefer. Some of you are at sites that have already a consent form that you use, and that's fine. We do need for that consent form to make it explicit that this is an NCCU counselor in training. Okay, so we're not, we want to be very transparent when a person is signing, when a parent or an individual is signing consent to be recorded, that they know who the person is and who will be listening to that. We are asking our students to be reflective, so you will see a number of assignments that have to do with their reflections. Many of them do weekly journals, and they're simply talking. We're asking them to stop long enough in their work to think about what was the most challenging thing this week, or what kinds of things am I not wanting to do? You know, do I back away from? Like some people are not wanting to do classroom guidance lessons as a school counselor. They would rather see individuals. They don't want to stand in front of a classroom and do, you know, so you're the encourager that says, you know, we'd like for them to get exposure to doing those kinds of things. And so we're asking our students to think about those things. What's it like if they're meeting with a couple for the first time? Some of you may not have settings that relates to, but others might. What's it like to do a substance abuse assessment the first time? You know, how are they feeling about doing that? So we're asking them to be very reflective in that kind of way. And now Dr. Dames is going to talk a little bit about the logistics of the paperwork.
So I'm from the Bahamas, so I can speak very quickly at times. So if you see me speaking that fast, you can just say, you know, put your hands up and let me know, because I can speak fast at sometimes. So what I'm going to go through is basically the paperwork for our site, for our students. And the first one we have up is the log of hours. I know Dr. Whiting talked about the amount of hours our students have to do the direct and indirect. And this is broken down into 2 different areas. So if you look at the sheet that you have with you, it has activity, what the persons are doing, and it will have the type of event that they're engaged in. And then also say exactly how much hours they would have performed that activity. And then we have a total to date in terms of how much hours they would have done for direct or indirect hours. And the students have this in a spreadsheet form, so it tallies up their hours to the end. And what we want you to do is just to sign off every week to the bottom your name and the date for what the different hours that they do for that week, every week. Okay, so we don't have you signing off, like 10 sheets in 10 weeks. So that's what Dr. Whiting was indicating in terms of you meeting with them on some regular basis to do those sort of paperwork as well. Okay. And if I forget anything, please, Dr. Barrow and Dr. Whiting, just chime in, please.
I would say with the log, at the very end, we only need the comprehensive cumulative list.
Mhm.
And if you'll sign that at the end, you don't have to have each individual page signed all over again, although we will take it. But the most important page is that one that shows 600 hours.
Or 100 hours for practice. Or 300 if they're doing 300 hours as well.
You only get weekly though, to make sure that those hours for that week are accurate.
Yeah.
For example, and not wait until the end and it says 600 hours.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying too, in terms of, that's when you meet with them on that weekly to say, hey, you did this, and it's a total. But the last sheet is the main sheet that we need as in terms of being accurate and also being K-Prep, standard ready and all of that. So we definitely will need that last sheet. But you can do that with your students as well.
And is this just for internship or is it for practicum?
No, practicum and internship. So the practicum should have 100 hours to the end and 600 for the internship. So what I do and the grad system will check to see that person has 100 and for the practicum and the 600, along with the university supervisors, they do that as well. Because it goes to them first and then it comes to me. Okay? Any other questions?
This is your verification of those hours, so whatever works for you to keep up with. I would need to do it on a regular basis because I wouldn't remember by the end of the semester, when my student had been there. So but it's a personal preference for you. But at the end, you're verifying, yes, they completed this number of hours.
It's really on the student's shoulder to keep track of their own hours.
That's right.
You don't have to do that.
And we do teach our students definitely responsibility. Everything comes from you as this is a master's level graduate program. So we need you to take on that responsibility. And you're like their guiding light, that sort of thing. So when we talk about also that with our students is a dress code. Now we know different institutions and different schools sometimes have their dress code different, like some persons might their day is maybe Friday, casual day, so that's okay if you allow your students to do that. But we want our students to dress the way that the institution definitely is dressing. So wherever the person is at, the school or wherever, we encourage them to dress for success. Look professional, conduct themselves in a professional way. And when we talk about the evaluation, we do have a section where you would grade those students. But we also, before they go out into the practicum site, we would do a mid-program review with them, and we tell them about the dress code. So if they come in the mid-program review and they're not dressed appropriately, we would say, hey, you might want to put on a jacket with that, or not spaghetti strap, or that sort of thing. So we do encourage them, and we have this on our website. I know Dr. Wassett is in the process of doing some thing to help with the dress code, actually showing somebody how to dress. So we're going to do that as well to help our students. We definitely help our students in that regard. I'll just keep going on to anything else. Okay, good.
My experience has been that it's the women that have trouble with this more than the men.
Yeah.
So we do ask you to not only be knowledgeable that we have the dress code, but to speak up to your student and say, This isn't gonna work. This is too short, this is too low, this is too, whatever it is. You know, there's too much perfume, there's too many bangles, there, you know, whatever. This situation might be.
Okay, so our memorandum of understanding, which is the MOA, which you have already signed off. We have a new one, so the front sheet will look a little different from what you signed off from for this semester. But going forward, we have a new MOA online, and I showed where our site, our NCCU counseling site, we have all of these forms on site as well. So we have our new MOA already uploaded. And you have those in your pocket as well. What we encourage our students is to make sure this is a legal binding document. So we want to make sure that this document is between the counseling, the North Carolina Central University Counseling Department, with your institution and also with the student. And so we ask our students to make sure they complete all of the information. This time around, we just included the two parts where, I can't go back. I don't want to go back.
Through the left side of the screen.
Okay, yes, okay. I will do that. So we have our students take, if it's a 300, a 600, if they're in practicum, and if they're in internship, and if they're in practicum, we know it's 100 hours, so we haven't distinguished that. So we just want to make sure if they're doing, because sometimes some students do complete their career internship, which means they're doing maybe a 300 hours at a career site, but they're actually school counseling, their major is school counseling. So we want to see that differentiation as well. Make sure our students complete the entire forms, and the same thing Dr. Whiting was talking about in terms of what you do compared to what the university does in terms of recording. All of the information is located on the MOA. Our students are required to sign along with yourself, the site supervisors, along with myself, and we just want to make sure that our site supervisors are 2 years experience in whatever area you're at your site. In terms of your experience to be a site supervisor as well. And we ask our students just to complete the entire form, which you have already done already. But going forward, like I said, we have a new form as well. That's it with MOA. Okay, our students also have to have liability insurance for going to any one of the sites. Before the students actually go on their first day, they would have to give me their MOA along with student insurance liability. It can be from American Counseling Association, ASCR, NCDA, any one of the branches that have student insurance, and also some students help get insurance someplace else, but it has to be, I think it's $100,000 liability insurance, because we just want our students to be safe. And we also want the university to be safe in terms of any legal things. But we know you're an excellent site supervisor, so that will never happen. But just in case, we have those things underneath that helps our students. Good? Okay, so our student evaluation, Dr. Whiting also spoke about it. And what you want to do is go through it with the students, letting them know for the practicum. You have a practicum evaluation form, and it basically looks at the fundamental skills and the dispositions. But the internship form has 3 different skill base we're looking for. The fundamentals, foundational skills, and the specialty area skills, and then the dispositions. And we want you to write, some your overall expression in terms of what you saw with the students, and also we want you to sign. So we have like 3 narratives that we want you to complete, and also the sign, print and sign in to the back, okay? And how do you want it? More about it, in terms of how do you want it sent to you, emailed, or
It can be emailed, faxed, or I've had students bring it to me at one of our last nights of class in a sealed envelope, signed across the back. So it comes a lot of different ways.
Okay. So we use this also as another way of keeping everything secure in terms of keeping our pay craft standards up as well.
One of the things that I would encourage you to do is to be very free with your feedback to the student from the get-go. Because what we don't want to have happen is that the student is not doing well and doesn't realize they're not doing well until the end. Because then there's no time for them to remedy anything, and it catches them off guard, and then the semester's over and we've got a problem. So there are a couple of different ways that you can do that. One is if you're meeting regularly with the student, to go ahead and be giving tidbits of feedback to them in terms of, it could even be their work habits. For example, if you have a practicum or an internship student who's chronically late, that's a work habit that they need to know about and that we need to know about. If they've set hours to be there at 8:30 in the morning, then we want them there at 8:30 in the morning, not at 8:45. And, and again, we put the responsibility on this, that we all know that things back up on I-40. We all know, traffic patterns and all that kind of weather events and all that, and you have to account for some of that. And it's not that we're saying don't give any leniency, but we're looking for patterns of behavior. So if somebody is chronically late or chronically unprepared or any of those kinds of things, you certainly would want to be giving the faculty supervisor feedback and the student feedback well before you're filling out the evaluation. Because these evaluations are what come in at the end when the experience is pretty much over. And so we want the feedback loop to be continuous. Most of our faculty have various ways of communicating with you, typically by email. So you will have their contact information, they have your contact information. You can either pick up the phone or shoot a quick email saying, I want to talk to you about a couple of concerns I'm having, and then they'll schedule a time with you, etc. I think it's fine for the final evaluations to be returned in a sealed envelope, but I can't bear your news if I'm the faculty supervisor because I'm not on the site. So I need for you to be willing to be giving feedback, to the student all along, so that if I open this, it's not a gigantic surprise, and then I'm delivering news about how they didn't do this or that or the other on site. So we just want that to kind of be ongoing. Anything else about the
Very correct. You date for we need to have the evaluations.
Yes, the students know the due dates. That's on the syllabus from the beginning. So yes, your student should be able to tell you, here is when this is due. And we ask them to alert you, and we ask the faculty supervisors to alert you several weeks in advance so that somebody's not racing in the day it's due, trying to catch you, and you're responsible for this major form.
You can expect that to be somewhere around November 28th, because that's the last day of class. That's the last day they can be at your site. So somewhere around that 28th or 29th is when we're going to start to have them collect all of their stuff and turn it into us. So if you wanted to make a note of, okay, I need to remember to do that, it's going to be right around that date.
Use the practicum one for the internship as well. If we don't have practicum, so we have an internship, so you guys don't have an internship on it here.
One is, okay, I can give you that. But I'm going to show you our website so you can go off and print up all the forms as well.
Yeah, I think these are just sample forms for you to look at, but there'll be practicum evaluations and internship evaluations. Practicum is less involved. You see the student far less hours, and you're not going to know them quite as well as you will the interns.
So we're going to turn over the remaining of the presentation to Dr. Whiting, and we're going to have some questions.
Okay. All right, let's stop because we've gone over a whole lot of information. Let's stop before we go forward and just see if you've got some questions, and then we want to tell you about some opportunities that we have for you since you have been so gracious as to agree to do this. But before we do that, let's just see, what are your questions?
I thought there was a midterm evaluation. Am I wrong? Is there a midterm evaluation?
There is an midterm evaluation.
Okay.
Dr. Barrow, do you use a midterm evaluation? You do not?
I don't. What I suggest is that the site supervisors use the same final evaluation to go over with them. I don't ask for it to come back to me because my hope is that you're reaching out to me to say, hello, we have trouble. But I think that's an opportunity for the intern to see growth from midterm to the end of the semester. I know that in the past it's been a bit more formal and that they do ask for a midterm to come back.
Yeah.
But I have not. So I'm going to defer to Dr. Dames to tell me what to do this semester.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I think what we just want you to do informal, so you can use one of the forms, and I guess use it informal for now until we really confirm what we're gonna continue with the midterm. Because I think they used to do it at one point.
Yeah, and if it were left to me, okay, and I say this with massive respect for Dr. Barrow, if it were left to me, I would have everybody do a written midterm. And the reason that I say that is because then I know the student has at least gotten some feedback and I have a handle on how they're performing. Now, theoretically, we hope we've got that without that form. So in that way, we hope that there's a continuous loop, and I agree wholeheartedly with Dr. Barrow that we hope you're picking up the phone, calling us with concerns, requesting that we meet, that we're reaching out to you saying, how is so-and-so doing? Is there anything concerning that we need to know about? Those kinds of things. But I like for the students to see in black and white, okay, this is how you're being rated. You can leave that to your own discretion at this point as to whether you want to do that very formally. We will not be accumulating those for the individual's file. So what Dr. Dames needs at the end of the semester is the evaluation, the final evaluation from you. Honestly, we're not that far away from the midpoint of the semester right now. And those of you that may have a practicum student would say, oh heavens, I haven't seen them, but 20 hours, how do I know? You know, and you may not even have accumulated yet enough information, particularly if your student is doing well, which we hope they are. Then you may not have feedback really where you can use the form. And so we've been trying to take that into account because our supervisors have given us that feedback. Like, this is a very long involved form and I don't have enough information midterm to do this, and you know, that kind of thing. So, but we do, you can't use it, even if you're not filling out all of it, you can use it as a, let's talk about how you're doing picture for them.
We have different forms between practicum and internship, and with practicum, we do have a midterm and a final actual form evaluation. With internship, we just have one form. So that's why it's kind of different messages. With internship, sometimes a faculty supervisor will want a midpoint evaluation, sometimes not, but they would use the same form. But with practicum, we actually have two different forms. And so that's why with my communication with you, or at least in my syllabus, it has midterm and final.
Yeah, I was confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Other questions? You are a vital part of what happens with our students, I'll tell you that. We couldn't do this really without you, quite honestly, because the students are leaving their knowledge base and their skill practice, and they're coming to you to demonstrate now their capabilities. And what you'll see is what they're good at and what they still need more experience at. You'll find various levels of sophistication. My experience is that your person who's in their final internship is a lot more sophisticated than your beginning practicum student. So we would ask you just to be mindful of who are you supervising and how much experience do they bring to the table. Sometimes in the practicum classes, I've taught those historically, and we spend a lot of time reassuring people it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's all right. You know, we want you to take a deep breath and come on, you can observe me do this, and now I'd like for you to do this, and I'll be here so that if something comes up, you know, it's that kind of experience. Most of our students are pretty conscientious. They want to do well. They're high achievers, and And they like to have feedback that's encouraging, and particularly at the practical level. And then they begin to get sort of in a rhythm and to establish an identity for themselves as a professional counselor. And our hope is by the time they graduate, you got a person that you would want to employ, whether you have a position or not. That's our hope, and our goal is that this person is turned into what you would consider to be a solid professional who just needs to clock some more experience in the field. But we're feeling good about where they are and what they have to offer. That's what we're hoping for. Any other questions or things that come up, Dr. Laurel, Dr. Barrow, Dr. James? Yes.
When we're getting the calls from the practicum students and the internship students, what can we expect about where they're at in their actual coursework? Are they typically completed, or are there sometimes a couple of classes that they still have to do?
There may be a couple of classes that they still have to do, but the far majority of their coursework is behind them. Practicum and internship are the final culminating experiences for the student in their program of study. Now, you may find that particularly at the practicum level, that the practicum student is taking a course and doing practicum. In 2 courses and doing practicum. When they get into internship, because of the intensity of the hours that they're spending with you, we advise them to not leave a full load of courses to take in the internship. But you can expect that they've had by far the majority of their coursework.
Because I know that with my intern, she does have some coursework left. And one of the things that I know caused her a lot of anxiety, we spent a lot of time doing supervision around it, is particularly one of the courses that she had was something that was part of her experience that she was getting. And so she didn't have all of the tools. She didn't feel comfortable what she knew and all of that to be able to do an assessment and those things. And so that was just that was the first time I had that happen, where I had someone who's internship and hasn't gotten most of their coursework out.
Yeah.
I've had the overlap with practical about internship.
Yeah. And that's the kind of feedback that we need from you just programmatically, because we want our people to have the tools to be able to put it into operation. You shouldn't really be the people that are having to teach them.
And I tell them, like, look, it's okay. Like, you're where you need to be. It's not that big of a deal. You're going to get that information.
Right.
You're going to have a little more experience than the people who are in the class now. But it is pretty anxiety. I've seen the anxiety level of the internship students kind of like, I don't know this. I haven't learned it yet. Like, and then second guessing like internship and their experience, like what they can.
And see, one of the antidotes to that, I think, is that our faculty supervisor, who is meeting with them weekly, is meeting with a set of interns, 6 or 7 of them together, can address some of those gaps. They can build that in to some of their class agenda to help bridge that gap a little bit. So I would encourage I'll talk with our faculty supervisors about that.
Typically, the thing I see with internships in general is being uneasy with their confidence level.
Yes.
In what they do know and what they don't know.
Yes.
And that they definitely feel like they've had it. It's like an extra wrench in the system.
Right.
I think some of that's related to the research that's out there on counselor development, that they're so rigid in that it has to be just like the book or just like the video, that I think having a site supervisor who demonstrates it's okay to, relax with it, not really like that. I think that's some of it. I talked to our students just last week about that, because there's this, did I do it right? Did I do it right? Did I do it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? So
I've got a very type A personality.
That's right.
They're like, what do we do for it? I don't know yet. 10 minutes to go. They freak out a little bit, but I'm like, but you have to be doing what we do. You have to be able to be flexible.
yes.
Because you don't know what that person's going to bring into the room with you.
Right.
And then easing them another.
And so you're talking about a dispositional issue, because we want counselors to be flexible, because we all know that as professional people, you have to be. You can't be in this field and not have, we want to have professional protocol, but we also want to have flexibility in terms of meeting the needs of a whole array of diverse clients and that kind of thing. So,
I try to emphasize to them, these are the things that when people are calling me to check a reference, they're asking me, how do they adapt to change? How flexible are they? How do they handle someone who's in a crisis? And that's sometimes these are the things that you really.
right. And I'm actually hearing a flexibility dispositional issue. I'm hearing, I haven't taken the course yet, so I'm lacking this tool kind of issue, and I'm hearing a confidence issue. So we've actually got kind of three things that you're talking about. And those are the kinds of things that our faculty supervisors work with them about.
Yeah.
How do you respond with flexibility and adaptability? How do you act as if you're confident when you may not feel 100% confident in doing something because you want to come across, we can't have clients thinking you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Kind of thing. And how do you fill in gaps of just basic knowledge of whatever it happens to be, a particular assessment or the DSM or whatever the situation is. So those are the kinds of issues that we're dealing with in class with our students also.
Some attestation that we have to do for these.
For the internship, the ethics
Yes.
yes. What you're doing is, that's gonna come at the end. The students in their final internship are putting together a portfolio. That's what they're doing. So, it's an electronic portfolio where it meets a lot of our national standards, a lot of demonstrations of competencies. And that letter is saying that to the best of your knowledge, you see this person responding with ethical behavior. That's what that's about. And it's a way that we can demonstrate that this person is of solid judgment, ethical behavior and judgment and professionalism. And it's a way that we emphasize to our students by having to have that statement that we're expecting this.
If it's a 300-hour internship versus 600.
No, it's not.
So
That's not any different.
That letter is not really required until they finish the 600 hours. So
Right.
if you just, in that student's in their first 300 hours and they're going to be doing 300 hours in the spring,
yeah.
they wouldn't need that till.
Okay. Because I think that's a little bit unclear because Tiffany is doing 300 and 300 and she's been talking to me about it, and I think somehow she's got the impression that 2 paragraphs of it are due or something like that. So we've been kind of looking at the paperwork with that together.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll make sure that we clarify with our faculty people that those requirements, the full requirement doesn't come until the portfolio is complete at the end of the 600 hours.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions or concerns that we might have that we can address?
Is there any specific paperwork that needs to be completed through the school district for the internship?
No, because if that was required for placement, it's already occurred. That's a part of what Dr. Danes does. But while the intern is there, no. Now, if they move into being hired by that district, then they've got all that standard stuff that has to be done. Yeah. So it's just between the site and the NCCU while they're in the field. Anything else that comes up, or anything else, Dr. Moore, can you think of anything else that we need to?
Are you guys planning on coming and visiting, seeing what they're doing, or just
Yes,
stopping by?
Brittany, let me speak to that in terms of saying that Yes, there will be a visit that occurs. In terms of whether the faculty person would actually be in a position to observe something, direct service that the student is doing, that's a judgment call for you to make. That typically is not part of our site visit. Our site visit is really to see the facility, to interact with you, to have some communication, maybe the three of us, so maybe the student and you and I all sit down together for a period of time. And the reason for that is that there are certain sites that we could not observe direct service going on. We don't have permission to be in those sessions. It would breach confidentiality, and so that's not a requirement for them to directly observe. I have been known in school situations, though, to come at a time when a person's doing a classroom guidance session and I'm actually in the room, et cetera, and I just get a feel for that. But that's more what you might want to do. You might want to be in a session, be in the classroom, sit in on a group, co-facilitate something so that you're having more direct observation of what the student is doing.
It would never be something where somebody just shows up and says, I'm here. It should be coordinated. And I personally am not making site visits. I have an online group of students. And so I've got people across the state, so I'm not making site visits. But I spend lots of time on the computer with them. I think when there's one of my days during the week, I do about 5 hours of video conferencing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. And so it does vary a little bit depending. And we are now drawing students from a wider geographic region because we have a K-Prep accredited online career program. And so theoretically, that's who I was meeting with. It caused me to be a few minutes late down here. They theoretically could be in Portland, Oregon, and coming in for a campus residency that's required, but then doing the field site back in wherever they live, back in their home geographic region. So we're getting somewhat away, we're using alternative ways to communicate with you. And
Yeah, that's
that's right. That's right. Other questions we can answer for you? Just in terms of the personnel with whom you would be interacting, the student's faculty supervisor would be your go-to person. So you need to know, if you don't know who that person is, you need to know who that person is. And you need to have their contact information. The student can provide you with that. And that they're your person to express concerns, to get questions answered, to say, am I supposed to do this now? Or I've lost the form, can you send me the form again? Or whatever the situation might be. Dr. Dames, her role is as our field site coordinator. So if primarily she's involved in the front end of getting the student to you, of helping people find sites, get the logistics worked out, work with school districts that require paperwork and protocol and procedures to occur, that kind of thing. Getting clearance for some of our mental health people and prison environments, all of that. So she sort of front loads, and then she comes back in at the back end to accumulate all these documents and keep all the files straight for us as a program. And then the faculty supervisor would be the person with whom the student is working on a weekly basis. So they're providing supervision to that student, et cetera. And then I am the program coordinator, so if you're having a problem with any of that, then you would come to me. Do they have my contact information?
I'm not sure.
I do. I can send it.
We'll make sure that you have the contact information for Dr. Dames and for me. neither of us this semester is teaching a practicum or an internship, so we're not one of the faculty supervisors this particular semester. But certainly we'll get you in contact with or answer your concerns or questions, etc. If we move to the next slide here, I just want to tell you about a couple of things. I wish that I could be handing out a check to each of you that would say, thank you so much for being willing to do this. We do not have the option of doing that, but we do. So what we try to offer to you is a couple of professional opportunities that might help you as you're in your own practice. One is, as you know, it hadn't been that long ago that the North Carolina LPC board, if you're in the LPC game in our state, passed the LPCS, the LPC Supervisor credential for people. And so more and more people are trying to get that credential. If you're in a school situation, you might be less interested or even knowledgeable about that. The mental health people know about this because now what the state has done is that they have a 3-tier system that says when a person leaves NCCU as a graduate, they have to clock a certain number of supervised hours before they can be licensed fully as an LPC. They go in with a preliminary LPCA license when they graduate, and then they have a supervision contract, and it needs to be with an LPCS, an LPC supervisor. So even if you've done supervision for a lot of years and have a lot of knowledge, if you don't have this credential, the LPC board is going to ask you to get that. So you can either get that by accumulating CEUs in supervision, 45 of them specifically, or you can take a graduate course in counselor supervision. Usually every other summer. We offer this. If we had enough interest, we would offer it every summer. The course is CON 5305, Clinical Supervision. It's an online class. Dr. Royal typically teaches it. It's offered only in the summer, but should you want to take that, that would fulfill that supervision requirement in lieu of accumulating 1 CEU here, 3 here, and 3 there. You can take a course and have that requirement taken care of. So that's one thing that we want you to know about. And you can watch as our summer schedule comes out, which would be probably in February or March, to see if that course, that supervision course is going to be on there. And the other thing is that we offer to you, as a way of saying thank you, some free continuing education webinars. You have a yellow sheet in your packet that tells you about the 4 fall webinars. The first one happens next week. And you can see they're all given by our faculty and they're on various topics. We have 2 this fall on supervision, and we have 1 specifically for school counselors, and we have 1 on consultation. So you see those dates, they're on Tuesdays from 1 until 2. And you have a code that has already been sent to you by Dr. Dames that allows you to register for these webinars for free. We normally charge a small fee for other participants in that, and we're giving you the option of doing this free, and you receive a CEU certificate for participating in this. So that's good. And have we talked about the website and the access that they have to the links that are there? Can we pull that up just so that everybody knows that? We have a website, NCCUcounseling.com. It's very simple. NCCUcounseling.com. It is our place for all of the wealth of information for our students, for our alumni, for our faculty, for everything. And we post all kinds of, if you mess around with our website, you'll see we have announcements about conferences, about job openings, about internship possibilities, about fellowships, about due dates, about webinars, about everything. And if you notice at the top, at the very top of here, there is something that says supervisors. You see the icon for supervisors up here? If you click on that, it will take you to all the different forms, like these evaluation forms that we've been talking about, et cetera. And here's some information about the clinical supervision course. It gives you, is the webinar information there too, Dr. Ward, or is that more on the front page?
Under continuing education.
Under continuing education.
Well, there's a link, there was a link on the left that said continuing ed too, but that.
Oh, okay. So it's the webinar.
So a lot of the things that you might need, if you're not getting them from your faculty supervisor, or you've misplaced them and you just want to pull them up on a website, you can do that. Certainly to register for webinars, you would use your code, which would bypass the payment then and be registered for that.
If we have lost that code.
I'm going to resend that. But it's in the very first email. I'm going to resend it.
Is it a secret or can we give it to her right now?
No, we're online. We're online. So we want to give it to everybody who could go in and look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to send it out to them.
Okay.
Dr. Whiting, did you talk about the specialist? I think Dr. Horn wanted to talk about the addiction workshop.
Yes. We are co-hosting a Fall Addiction Studies Program Conference, and we are co-presenting, I'm going to say, with the substance abuse people and the National Board for Certified Counselors. This is an all-day workshop. It's here at Central, and this gives you some information about how to sign up for this conference and who the guest speakers are. We've got some pretty powerful people that are going to be talking from a substance abuse perspective. Dr. Gwen Newsom, whose picture is down at the bottom, couldn't be with us today, but she is one of the guest speakers at this conference. Those of you who have a practicum student, she is probably the faculty supervisor for that practicum student, or maybe one of them for this semester. So we invite you to attend that. And welcome to come to any of our workshops and as well as the webinars and other special events that we might have. Anything else? We thank you so much for all you mean to our students and to our program, and we're so appreciative of your expertise and your willingness to take on one of our students. As I said before, we couldn't really do this without you, and we're just so pleased that you took some time this afternoon to come all the way over to the campus. We appreciate that more than you know, and those of you that are with us online, we hope that we'll be able to interact with you more personally at another time, and we thank you very much for coming this afternoon.
And if you have space for next semester, you can always email me and say, hey, I can do with another student. Please, they have to give their MOAs by October, sometime, December. So if you do have space, please just shoot me an email and I can try to find a student for you. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.